Welcome to the Movies Watch Before You Die podcast. I'm your host, Dylan, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Gab.
And today we are going to talk about what I believe is a movie to watch before you die. But before we do, Gab, why are people listening to us talk?
Well, Dylan, number one, they've seemed to have come across our oh man. You know, every week I try to make it fun and creative. Listen, I don't know. I was an actor. I studied it in school. I worked professionally for a while, and now I just watch movies and work out. What about you?
I mostly just watch movies. I don't do the working out part as much. But I also used to be a video editor and went to school for film. So today I will tell you what movie we are talking about. I hope you already know because you should have watched it in preparation for this. We are talking about the 1932 Universal Monsters classic starring Boris Karloff, The Mummy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we're talking about The Mummy with Boris
No,
Karloff.
we're not. We're talking about the Brendan Fraser Mummy, you dickhead.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the 1999 The Mummy. But was there a second where you're like, oh God?
Yes, there was. There absolutely was. You definitely got me. But then I thought about how you prefaced it like an idiot and said, you definitely should have watched it in preparation for this. And it's the wrong movie. Like you should have just said, this is what we're talking about. And I definitely would have bought it more. But wow, yeah, you did just make me nervous.
Good. I like to keep you on the edge. It keeps the podcast fresh.
Ooh, wow. Okay, my heart.
All right. So now that we've gotten thrills out of this podcast, let's talk about this thrilling movie. And Gab, why don't you tell me what this movie's about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Well, Dylan, I'd like to save us all the trouble. So instead, I'm going to direct you and all of our listeners to listen to the very first episode of this podcast about Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it's the same goddamn movie.
It is not the same goddamn movie. It is
movie.
They're adventure films. They're all similar.
Save it.
So that's your plot summary. Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark is your plot summary.
Go listen to that. Go watch that movie. It just doesn't matter. Watch it. Listen to the podcast episode. Read the Wikipedia page. I don't know. YouTube the highlights. It's the same movie. There's something in the desert. We got to go dig it up. Oh no, something bad happened. Oh, don't worry. It all worked out.
Well, let's see how similar that is to the IMDb plot summary. They expanded on what you said a little bit. At an archaeological dig in the ancient city of Hamunaptra, an American serving the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakens a mummy who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long-lost love. I'd say they did a bit better job than me, but
maybe.
That's just my call. Taglines, which we got a couple on this one.
Oh.
The sands will rise, the heavens will part, the power will be unleashed, the legend you know, the adventure you have yet to imagine.
Except unless you watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course, in which case you have already imagined
the actual movies are not that similar. I will say the character of Rick O'Connell is somewhat similar to an Indiana Jones type. It's that swashbuckling type. Okay, this is important right now. This is what's about. It's not our opinions yet. Okay. Other taglines: Adventure is reborn. Prepare, beware, behold. Uncover the secret, unlock the legend, unleash the power. And death is only the beginning. I'm gonna be honest, most of those are pretty generic.
Yeah, they are.
Not the best taglines. We've had better ones.
Yeah.
All right, Gab, since it seems like you're ready to dive in, should we get to opinion time?
Please.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
Do you have thoughts on this movie? I know that if you do go back to our first episode, probably to me our worst episode, but please
far
go
and
on
away
back.
Our worst episode. Don't do it. Just context clues will do.
Take us at our word. Do you think that this was the same as that? And I know that was not a movie that you even really particularly enjoyed.
Listen, obviously the movies are a little bit different in story. The characters are relatively similar. It certainly felt similar. Why don't you go first?
Well, I want to say I did actually know somebody else. We have our friends in Albany, which I hope they're fine with me saying their names, Cassidy and Ian. I was at their house when we recorded the Tremors episode. And she had happened to just have seen The Mummy for the first time like 2 months ago or something, maybe less than that. And I said, I'm recording with Gab on the movie tomorrow, and since you're also someone who just saw it, I'd love to have your thoughts to use if you're willing. And she said, fantastic movie, 10 out of 10. The movie's a classic I wish I watched sooner. I've actually watched it a few times since then too, just last week even.
What?
So I'm just saying. How
Wow.
Brendan Fraser to me is okay. Last week we did You've Got Mail.
Uh-huh.
And basically I remember that we said, or mostly me said a bunch of times, what we said was that the movie would be terrible if not for the charm of Tom Hanks.
Correct.
And I guess Meg Ryan too by extension, but mostly Tom Hanks, that lovable bastard.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is carried by the self-aware charm of its leads, particularly Brendan Fraser. That man, during that stretch of the 90s, early 2000s, was just a powerhouse of acting.
Sure. Yeah. And I like him a lot. And I'm actually really excited for his triumphant return, which I know you and I have discussed offline. I would really like to see The Whale, especially for the performances. But I have never seen this movie. I went into it very excited to kind of like see what all the hype was about. Obviously, there are a million sequels to this, so it must have been popular.
2.
Okay. Well, number one, I expected I was like, isn't The Rock in this movie? And Corey was like, no, that's the Scorpion King. So
he is in the sequel, and the sequel, I can already tell you. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you immediately.
No, it's okay.
The sequel, I actually watched it last night after I watched the first movie. It is much, much worse. Like, they're still like, oh, that's fun too, but it's like, you can tell it's just like, they just tried to do more of everything, and instead it ends up being less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that does not shock me in the least.
Yeah.
But that's exactly, like, that's a very good way to summarize how I felt about Brendan Fraser's performance. I felt like he was trying to come across as the type of character who's like too cool for school. And instead of kind of being like in that Indiana Jones vein of like, I'm here for a purpose. Like, I'm not, very focused. I'm not interested in the BS. It was like, he was just so apathetic. And the performance was so lackluster because he just didn't do enough of anything. Yeah, you heard me, bitch. That's
what
saying.
Shocks me, Gab? Shocks me. Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, you call him a fucking nerd. Brendan Fraser, in this, you say he's too cool for school.
No. I don't think he's cool. I think he thinks like to me, I think the too cool for school attitude, like I'm struggling to find the words here, is that he's just lacking any kind of warmth. He's lacking any kind of
that's all he is. That is all he is in this movie, is like warmth.
No, he's not. Are you crazy?
He is just charm and bravado.
No, I disagree. He's like the worst version of Danny Zuko.
What?
Maybe
How is he
watched
Danny Zuko?
The 1938 movie.
1932, but not. It doesn't matter.
No, I just didn't. I didn't think that his character was anything to write home about. I didn't like his performance. I didn't think it was full of the Brendan Fraser charm at all. And you know what's really funny, Dylan? The first scene where we're learning about the dude and Hamunaptra and whatever, I'm
Imhotep.
like,
Imhotep, say his name, Gab.
Imhotep. I'm like, I'm gonna love this. I literally said to Corey, I'm gonna love this.
Because I feel like that's the hardest part. Those first 5 minutes, I'm like, man, this is a lot of exposition to set you up.
It was a lot of exposition, but I was in it. And then as soon as we got to like present day with Brendan Fraser and what, I was like, oh no. And it just all went downhill from there for me.
I'm just so shocked.
Yeah, it just and I feel badly because I feel like I didn't really do my due diligence because I watched it on Saturday night. And I think for me, like, I immediately forgot about it afterwards. Like, I don't even really have all that much to say because I just, it was like, as soon as the movie was over, it was like, I had never seen it.
I will say,
and I paid attention.
I will say, I can understand that maybe to an extent because I do think that this is trying to think of like the right food analogy. It's very much an empty calories type of movie where it's like,
Yeah.
is this fulfilling? Does this have a message you'll take with you forever? No. But what I think this movie is 2 hours of just fun. And I think like at the end of the day, that's the first and foremost what a movie should be, is I should just enjoy it while I'm watching it. And I always find that when I'm watching this movie, I'm having a blast. And I can tell you that, Giselle and I were watching it, and every time we're watching this movie, I find myself, we at least like 10 times go, Anaxunamun, like you just end up like quoting random lines. And I really, the character that I find is my favorite character the more you watch this movie is Benny.
Well, yeah, he was the only good part.
Benny is the MVP.
When he and Corey had actually said to me, he'd seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I obviously, like, yeah, I must be the only person on the planet who hadn't. And he said, he was like, I haven't seen this movie in many, many, many years, but my favorite part is when the guy sees the mummy and he starts taking out all the different religious things and praying in different languages until one works.
Yes,
and when we saw that scene, I was like, oh, haha, that's the scene. But like, and I don't think I would call it hysterical, Dylan.
Did he ruin it for you? Did he tell you that before it happened? That son of a bitch.
No. I honestly think that if he hadn't warned me, I would have also not laughed.
I think virtually every time Benny speaks, it is funny.
Also, did it appear to anybody else that Benny was in whiteface?
He's not.
He's just like that.
Yes, I got news for you. Yes, that's just what that guy looks like.
I did, however, when I was in the middle of this movie, pause it, because as Benny says the prayer in Hebrew, and he's like, oh, the language of the slaves, I paused and I thought, I must be Egyptian, right? And then I went to, because I had sent you the results of my mom's 23andMe,
Yeah.
and I saw that we are, in fact, Egyptian.
Yes, that's why we have all those holidays and such, Passover.
Right.
Passover.
But
do we
are
actually
all
have
Jews Egyptian?
No,
I don't know, but we
not
are
all Jews. Okay.
So anyway, that's probably the best and most exciting part of this movie for me.
Jesus Christ.
I don't even really remember like a lot of the details. I know why the mummy, he was mummified alive, which by the way, you lost me there.
What do you mean?
Well, inherently, if you mummify someone, they cannot still be alive.
I don't believe that's true. Mummification is a process. It's normally would occur after death, but technically, and this shows how much attention you paid. No, this shows that I've seen this movie a million times. He is not technically mummified. He is cursed with the Hyundai, which I would not remember that normally. I'd just be like, oh, he's a mummy, like the rest of the guys. The rest of the guys are like mummies. That's why when they rise out, they're all bandaged up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was cursed. And because of the curse that they did to him, that's why he was given this extraordinary curse that if he was to arise and survive the curse, he would then become a plague upon earth, blah, 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 blah. We're all doomed.
Also seems like a bad idea.
I do feel
an
like
all-around bad idea.
I do feel like that's the most common thing I hear. Like I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos in preparation, and I saw several videos where somebody was just like, just slit his throat. And it's like, they really wanted to punish him.
Yeah.
There is a cool thing that I read that, you know how they say when they find his corpse initially, they're like, he's still juicy, and there's claw marks on the inside. So apparently, and I guess it's another thing that you don't normally think about. Do you remember when he is almost fully transformed back into like his immortal, fully skinned version? You see one of those scarabs crawling on his face, and it crawls in through his cheek, and he just eats it.
Yeah.
It's always just been a thing that's like, ew, gross. But something I read and something that like I finally understood more, those scarabs were eating him in the sarcophagus. They ate him slowly enough and he survived long enough, which is a bit ridiculous because we then later see somebody get eaten in like 3 seconds by those scarabs.
Yes.
But he was eating the scarabs were eating him, and he survived for a long time. What happened to you? Are you okay?
Oh my God. So
was there a bug in there?
It felt like there was a bug because we're talking about the bugs. It was just either a piece of my hair or this pillow or something, but I don't think it was actually a bug. But wow, I am jumpy.
See, this did have an effect on you.
Clearly it did.
I will say, watching this as a kid, like, this movie came out when we were 7. Those scarabs were so goddamn scary, Gab. And I
believe it.
know that rewatching it now, I'm like, I'm sure that a lot of the effects don't hold up 100%. It's sort of one of those things that it's like, okay, well, I buy in the movie, so I'm going to just go with it. I think some of the effects still look good. The scarab thing like normally doesn't. And I'm like, yeah, it's still a scary idea though.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of things. That was one of those things that I could tell. Like I was like, man, when Gab watches this, I hope it still comes across somewhat scary. And knowing that you now just jumped, I'm like, either you're just very scared of bugs or it stuck with you a little bit or both.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? And I actually said this to Corey too when we were watching it. Remember like the summers when we would have the really bad cicadas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There wasn't more to that. It just made you think of the cicadas.
Yeah, I was always afraid. I just remember them like Gog and Pop's lawn would be covered in them. And then I was always afraid that they were going to eat me because they had that horrible sound.
I just remember how gross and crunchy they were when you stepped on their like shells.
Yeah. Blech.
Funny thing I wrote down, Giselle always thinks Imhotep is Billy Zane. He is not Billy Zane.
Yeah, I see it.
And at one point she goes, you know the scariest part about the Pharaoh? The Dementors. For anybody who watched The Office out there.
Yes.
When you just see like the spirit rising out of the water.
Wait, I think Corey said Dementors too. I swear to Christ, I think he said Dementors also.
Other things I wrote down here. This movie ends 10 minutes in if the guys from the Magi aren't lazy and kill Rick rather than the desert will kill him.
Yeah, honestly.
They're just watching from a cliff and they're like, should we shoot him? And they're like, nah.
That whole thing, I was just like, this is ridiculous.
And
also, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say the fact that they're the descendants of the guard. It's like, do we just like have to have the same job as our ancestors? Like, I'm so confused.
I assume that some people join in at some point. I assume it originates from the descendants of the guards.
But like, I don't understand. Like, okay, sure, it originates as the descendants, but like, why are we guarding this thing that's hundreds of thousands of years old?
Because he's going to release a plague upon mankind if he's ever discovered, Gab. Duh.
But that, like, this whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. We're wasting resources and taxpayer dollars on these jobs.
What makes you think that way? What makes you think where you get taxpayer dollars from? Like there's some official government job.
I just feel like
it's not like it was like, well, my mom worked for the IRS. My dad was part of the Magi. It's one of those two.
Honestly, though, it kind of feels that way. And it's like, why the fuck are we doing this? And like guarding this thing? Like, this was just such a waste of time. It's like, why didn't we just kill him?
They should have just killed him. Another thing that I wrote down, because I did write down, like, if you're really critically watching, you're going to notice things that are like, oh, that's stupid. Like, again, you should be watching the movie and just having fun so that you're not thinking about these things. I said, why would they even make a key to unlock the sarcophagus if they never wanted him to get out? And Giselle said, because of plot devices, Dylan.
That is true. The whole time it was like, this is stupid. And like, I hate when it's like nobody has discovered that thing that's just laying around in all these years and this fucking bimbo found it.
To be fair, it is very much in the middle of the desert. The whole point is supposed to be that like him and the French Foreign Legion dudes went and seeked out Hymenoptera, trying to find it.
Sure.
And when they got there, all they found was sand and blood. Because Brendan Fraser says that cool. Everything he says is cool. How do you not like Brendan Fraser? Jesus.
I don't like it.
Okay. When they open the chest, it says death will come on swift wings to whoever opens this chest. First, Benny is smart because he gets the hell out of there. Second, why didn't the Americans get the digger dudes to open it again? Like they got them to shoot acid in their faces or whatever.
Yep.
Third, I was being a real stickler watching it. Only 2 of the Americans actually open it. Is it just because those other guys were in the room when it was open?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
2 guys take the lid off, and I'm like, you know what? Imhotep's a stickler for details. He's like, they were in the room. They all have to die.
Guilty by association.
Let's see. Wait. When they do open the sarcophagus of Imhotep, these marks were made by fingernails. Evie goes, this man was buried alive. And I was like, no shit. Why were there fingernails in there, you think?
So stupid.
Okay, another thing. Imhotep thinks that Evie is an Moon when he looks at her, right?
Yeah.
First of all, if you watch the sequel, it makes absolutely no sense.
Why? Tell me.
Because the sequel does the stupid thing where it turns out like this person was destined to be this person. Rick is a descendant of the Magi. Evie is a descendant of the Pharaoh's daughter, Nefertiri.
Kill me now.
No, the sequel's much worse. But does Imhotep think that Evie is an Moon because he took eyeballs from the guy with garbage vision?
Yeah.
Like, does he have bad eyesight this whole time? At the end of the movie, would he have put on his, like, a pair of glasses and like, that's who you've been this whole time?
That's what I assumed.
I thought that was interesting.
Oh, yeah, that was straight from the beginning. I was like, oh my God, of course. And also, I hate that I can't find my glasses. Like, as somebody who has piss poor vision, if I dropped my glasses 2 feet in front of me and I could just like feel around on the ground, I would find them in a second. I hate it.
It's literally a trope.
Yeah, I hate it.
Well, that's not their fault that you hate the trope.
Yes, it is.
I wrote Brendan Fraser is chewing the scenery and it's great. I guess some people do not agree with that. We have a fundamental disagreement on Brendan Fraser in this movie.
We really do, but I'm confused. He's chewing the scenery?
Yeah, see, like, he is aware of, like, I think this movie has an awareness of making fun of the things that are like, oh yeah, of course it's kind of ridiculous, and they're having fun with it. You know what I mean? It's similar in the sense that it's the same thing with how Tremors is somewhat of a B movie, and it's supposed to be like a more modern take on a B movie. That I feel like that this is a more modern take on those Universal monster movies. And at times when things are ridiculous, it feels like the movie is somewhat acknowledging, like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Maybe.
Jesus.
Even so, no. I hear you. I'm trying to think if that makes me like it anymore, and the answer is no.
Okay. All right, settle an argument for me, Gab. Giselle and I were playing a game recently, and you had to name zombie movies. We're going back and forth. Zombie movies had to be named.
Okay.
Giselle said this movie. Does this movie count as a zombie movie?
No.
Thank you. Now, she went back to the mind-controlled villagers, but they are referred to as his slaves. They are never called zombies.
Also, they're not dead, right?
I don't think so.
No, I think they're modern day people that have been like hypnotized. They're not zombies. Sorry. Giselle, I have said it on many occasions. I love you more than Dylan. I think you are my best family member, but you're wrong about this.
I feel like I wrote down every line that Benny says is something that I thought was like a great quote.
I can't believe you don't think that man was like wearing whiteface. Like,
no,
he was
he's just a pale dude. Like, what? He's also got the weird pencil mustache, which was the style at the time. To go with like the Grandpa Simpson quote. I was wearing an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. I do love, particularly I want to point out this Betty quote, when she goes, nasty little things such as yourself always get their comeuppance. He like laughs and he goes, they do? Like, I just love the way that like he's so stupid, he's great.
Yeah.
Think of my children. You don't have any children. Someday I might. Like, this guy was great.
Yeah. He's definitely the only redeeming part of the movie.
Wow. Oh my God. I can't believe that sentence.
I can't believe you can't believe that sentence. I can't believe after I told you how I felt about Indiana Jones, you thought I was going to like this movie. And listen, I didn't hate it. I wasn't like, oh my God, turn this off. But like I said, as soon as it was over, I was like, all right, I never need to see that again. It didn't do it for me. I didn't love it. I'm sorry.
I definitely could say that I regularly watch it. I probably watch this movie at least once a year.
Okay. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
God damn. I guess I have so many facts, and I feel like I'm just going to bore you with these facts now. Should I get to these facts?
Please get to the facts. I just want to say quickly before we officially get to the facts that I feel like maybe I'm coming across like I hated this movie, and I don't. I don't hate it. I just didn't particularly enjoy it. It didn't stick with me. I will not remember it, and I've already forgotten most of it. And I feel badly that I came into this podcast kind of not really with a whole lot of weight to pull, other than I didn't like it. So I want to apologize. But anyway, let's get to the facts.
Well, I have so much weight to pull, and that's not a fat joke. So let's get to some facts.
I want the truth!
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Backed me up.
Okay, so let's start with IMDb gives this a score of 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter gives this 61%, average rating of 6 out of 10, 62 fresh reviews, 39 rotten. The audience score gives it a 75% with an average score of 3.8 out of 5. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Sound.
Okay.
Why do you snicker at that?
It's just like,
An
no,
Academy Award nomination is an Academy Award nomination. Did you like the music?
I don't know. I don't recall.
Okay, well, I thought the music was very good. It's by Jerry Goldsmith, who did the music for, let's see, where do I have it written down here? Jerry Goldsmith did the music for like a million other things.
Jerry Goldsmith, from the sound of him, also part Egyptian.
Oh my God, I don't appreciate your assumption, but he also did the music for Mulan, Rudy, Gremlins, Alien, First Blood, Star Trek the Motion Picture, Planet of the Apes, and like 1,000 other things.
Wouldn't it be a great movie if it were like, what were the first couple? Mulan,
Rudy, Gremlins, Alien.
Okay, I'm gonna write a movie called Mulan, Rudy, Aliens, Gremlin.
You couldn't infer that there were commas between those guys.
No. I can. I'm just saying I think that would be a movie to watch before you die. Continue.
And apparently Jerry Goldsmith was going to do the sequel, but at some, like, I think he was doing a performance somewhere, and this may not be 100% correct. I may have written this down somewhere else and I might be more correct about it later. But he said something about the movie being a piece of shit during a concert. He was like, yeah, this movie sucked ass. And it turns out the director was there. And so he was not asked to return for the sequel.
Wow. That's all right, Jerry.
Speaking of the director, the movie was written and directed by Stephen Sommers, who also wrote and directed Van Helsing, The Mummy Returns, and G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. Stars Brendan Fraser from, although I think now he says Brendan Fraser. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't know.
I think I've heard it said Fraser a lot, but that sounds weird. So I'm going to keep misnaming him as Brendan Fraser. From The Whale, Blast from the Past, George of the Jungle, and Doom Patrol.
And Dudley Do-Right.
Rachel Weisz from The Constant Gardener, Black Widow, and The Fountain. John Hannah, who was the brother who I would have left off if not for the fact that he was terrifying in the first episode of The Last of Us. Have you watched The Last of Us?
No, but I really want to. But like now I'm concerned that maybe it will give me depression.
I really recommend it. It's somewhat depressing. Arnold Vosloo from The Mummy Returns, Blood Diamond, and G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Nothing is more funny to me than when an actor is like also known from the sequel of this very movie.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's the biggest thing they did. We're like multiple movies in this.
Yeah.
Also not Billy Zane. And lastly, the MVP of this flick, Kevin J. O'Connor, who was Benny from Van Helsing and There Will Be Blood. In Van Helsing, he plays an even weirder, creepier little dude. Critics' consensus: it's difficult to make a persuasive argument for The Mummy as any kind of meaningful cinematic achievement, but it is undeniably fun to watch. Maybe not.
Okay.
The
for
budget
some of us
was $80 million. Box office, $415.9 million worldwide.
Wow.
Let's go to the reviews. Roger Ebert, our boy, gave this 3 stars. There is hardly a thing I can say in its favor, except that I was cheered by nearly every minute of it.
Wow.
Which feels like a lot of people are like giving a similar feeling, but
yeah.
Harvey S. Carden from CompuServe, which does not sound like they would review movies, a potpourri of special effects that forgot about dialogue, acting, and even set design. Caroline Westbrook from Empire Magazine, Universal's remake of its own 1930s classic is actually a lot of fun. Its blend of low-rent Indiana Jones-style antics, impressive special effects, and inevitably chaste romance scoring high in the risible escapist nonsense department. Now, I see you point at the Indiana Jones part. It's an adventure movie. Of course, it's somewhat similar. It's in the same vein as Indiana Jones, yes, but there are so many movies like that.
Well, none that I've seen besides
I know,
these
like,
two.
well, clearly you shouldn't. This is not your genre.
It is not my genre.
Jim Judy from Screen It. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz just don't have what it takes to carry the picture. I guess Gab agrees with that. Bob, is it Penster or Fenster? What did I write here? It's a fleck of dust on my laptop. Bob Fenster from Arizona Republic. Spectacle, rowdy adventure, and supernatural horror all crammed into a raucous 2 hours of high testosterone special effects filmmaking. Gary Thompson from the Philadelphia Daily News. I've only got 2 more after this. The Mummy quite shamelessly combines the imagery and serialized thrills of the Indiana Jones movies with the frenetic special effects energy of the Evil Dead movies, and it's quite a bit of fun in doing so. Jeffrey Westhoff from the Northwest Herald, a great Indiana Jones movie without Indiana Jones. Emma Stefanski from Thrillist, it's really a movie for everyone, maybe not mummies.
Ha, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know what's really interesting though? I do not like this movie. I do not like Indiana Jones. Oh, did I give away the verdict? Damn, sorry, Dylan.
You mostly gave it away for the past, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those episodes.
Dylan, you know me very well. What is my absolute favorite movie franchise of all time?
You put me on the spot here, Gab.
I'm sorry. This is very obvious.
Yeah, that one. We both know it. Same for the audience, though, because they don't know it.
Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I should have known that.
You should have known that, but that's okay. Yeah, I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Every single one. I don't care. All the Disney fucking universe. We're gonna do a movie about Lando Calrissian. I'm in. I'm bought in. I'm sold. I want my lightsaber. I want to be a Jedi. Oh, now we don't have to talk about Star Wars right now. I have so many things to say about Star Wars, but I don't like these other types of adventure movies. And I said that on the Indiana Jones episode.
It's all like the hero's journey type of thing.
Yeah. But something about archaeology, I think, just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, boy, you hate archaeology. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. On January 20th, 2023, Brendan Fraser surprised a crowd watching an anniversary showing of the movie and admitted we had no idea what kind of movie we were making when we shot this. We didn't know if it was a drama, a comedy, or a straight up action, horror, romance picture. No idea until we started testing it. Allegedly, the company took out kidnapping insurance on the stars, and Rachel Weisz laughed because she hadn't heard about it until she did from an interviewer who was asking her about that.
Kidnapping insurance?
Yes, because they were filming out of the country somewhere else, and I guess, they should have had that in Tropic Thunder, that kidnapping insurance, I guess.
Yeah. Also, where did they film this?
Oh no, I should have written that down. I think parts of it are filmed in Marrakesh.
Okay.
It's either Marrakesh or Morocco, but I think it's Marrakesh.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel Weisz actually clarifies. She said it's actually pronounced Weiss, but she lets people just say Weiss. So
Okay.
just like Brendan Fraser, we're going to keep not naming her Rachel Weisz. She's Rachel Weisz. So Rachel Weisz, oh my God, it's not Brendan Fraser. I just put that in my own brain. Nearly died during a scene where his character is hanged. Rachel Weisz remembered he stopped breathing and had to be resuscitated.
I was going to say, that scene, I was literally like, there's no way he's still alive right now. And also then I was like, how did they shoot that? And
I mean, normally
clearly
they just have an apparatus behind you that you're not actually hanging by your neck.
right.
But he says on this movie, he died for 18 seconds.
That is so ridiculous. Like, who cleared that?
This isn't the first movie where that's happened. In Back to the Future 3, they hung Michael J. Fox for hung or hanged. I think it's hanged Michael J. Fox for some amount of time where he almost died too.
I just don't understand. Like, oh, also, side note, and we can talk about this later. Can you believe that Alec Baldwin is being indicted on those charges?
I feel like that's a big thing to bring up in like an offhand comment. I think it's kind of crazy that he is. I'm not sure if he is as being the actor or as being the producer of the film. That's where I'm like,
say the actor or the character.
No, they're not indicting the character.
I just cannot believe it. That's like absolutely not his responsibility in the least.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe as the producer it is. It's definitely not as an actor.
Yeah. All right. Maybe as the producer. But oh my God, I feel so bad for him. My heart is just shattered for him.
I feel bad for him. I feel worse for, the woman who was shot.
Right. Absolutely. And her family and whatever. But like
Yeah.
all that aside, speaking just about Alec Baldwin in this one instance where somebody died on a movie set, that was completely not his fault. Anybody who just because his character used the gun, it could have been anybody. But anyway,
with special effects today, why are we even firing blanks anymore? Why are we firing blanks? Why are we firing actual guns? Why can't it just be a cap gun that we just then digitally erase the orange top? Like it should be really easy by this point. That doesn't matter. That's not a fun fact about the Mummy. Let's talk about the Mummy more.
Okay.
In a scene, Benny is shown with a sack full of gold, which he's trying to load onto a camel. He pulls the camel by the reins, but the camel doesn't budge. The camels all, for some reason, hated the actor Kevin J. O'Connor. They would not agree to do anything with him because that camel was supposed to move initially.
I love that.
Brendan Fraser was cast due to the success of George of the Jungle. Stephen Sommers also commented that he felt Fraser fit the Errol Flynn swashbuckling character he had envisioned perfectly.
Can you define swashbuckling for me?
Swashbuckling, it's like the heroic adventure type. You know what I mean? Your Robin Hoods, your Indiana Joneses, it's anybody who is, I don't want to say morally cloudy. There can be an aspect of that, but it's just they're a hero who is an adventurer, who is rescuing people, who is, it's similar to super heroic, I think, but they're adventurers as well.
Well, number one, why do I associate it with pirates?
There, you know what? I almost said pirate. There's a little bit of pirate there.
And number two, is that like a Latin term? Like, where did we derive this word from? Swashbuckling. Am I getting that right?
You are swashbuckling, which now you got me looking it up because I'm like, what is it?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. The definition, engaging in daring and romantic adventures with bravado or flamboyance. And they say a crew of swashbuckling buccaneers, which, like, that's even more pirate-esque.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if, like, yeah, it's from the mid-19th century. It says the word is English in origin. Yeah. There's no Latin behind it.
Interesting. I mean, obviously I know it's not Latin. Welp. I always think of Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean when I think of swashbuckling, but okay.
Okay. What else do I have here? The library disaster with Evie was done in one take. It would have taken an entire day to reshoot if there was a mistake that had been made on it. They only had one camera set up.
Damn, lucky.
According to director Stephen Sommers, Universal phoned him the morning after the movie was released and said, "We need another one."
Wow.
Immediately greenlit afterwards and released within 2 years. The effects are much worse too, and you can tell it's because it's rushed.
Oh.
Particularly, you talk about the rock at the end of The Mummy Returns, which it's not even actually him. It's like a PS2 type graphic of like, it's a scorpion body with like the Rock's upper torso on top, and it looks horrendous, Gab.
Oh my God, I want to see it. I feel like I've seen a meme about it.
Definitely, you have to have seen this at some point. Like, just go on YouTube and type in like The Mummy Returns Scorpion King.
I'm typing it in right now.
Don't do it right now. We're recording right now.
I'm not going to watch the video.
Fine. Jonathan Hyde's close-up scene during the locust swarm had to be reshot several times because he could not keep a straight face with all the locusts crawling all over him.
Oh my God, I cannot believe it. This literally looks like a bad, like it kind of looks like, what was that marionette movie that came out when we were younger?
Marionette movie?
Yeah, it was like it was like a fake team of superheroes.
Oh, Team America World Police.
Yeah. That's what he looks like.
It looks worse than that, man.
Wow. All right.
During the scene where Imhotep is raising the sandstorm in the desert, the camera had to quickly pan up because the wind machines being used kept blowing Arnold Vosloo's cape up, exposing his butt.
Oh, shit. That's funny.
Arnold Vosloo, who obviously played the Mummy, understood the approach that Stephen Sommers was going for in his screenplay, but only agreed to take on the role of Imhotep if I could do it absolutely straight. From Imhotep's point of view, this is a skewed version of Romeo and Juliet. I like that.
Sure.
I thought that was cool.
Do you think that it would have made a difference in the movie if a different actor had played it differently? Like, what would have changed?
Of course it makes it. I mean, it depends. Like, is somebody else playing it in a more campy way? Is somebody else playing it in a more goofy way?
I guess, but I feel like the story was not written for the Mummy to be goofy or campy.
No, but maybe it could have been, depending on if John Candy is playing the Mummy, he's not going to be the same character, Gab.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. John Candy wouldn't have been hired for this role. Like,
if Billy Zane was this Mummy, Gab, it would have been played differently.
Yeah, it would have been played like a real arrogant prick. But God damn it, if he isn't handsome.
I love that Billy Zane. The line "Think of my children" given by Benny was ad-libbed by Kevin J. O'Connor.
That's great. What he's done nothing else, right? We talked about that already.
The only other thing that I really know him from is Van Helsing. I remember him in because he played Igor, which was like memorable enough. He was in There Will Be Blood, but I don't recognize him if he's not in some weird ass makeup, I guess.
Yeah.
Kevin J. O'Connor had been wrapped up so much during the filming of the scene with Benny in the Egyptologist's office that he was badly bruised and his nipples had to be iced afterwards.
Why was he bandaged?
The scene in the Egyptologist's office where he's being thrown around by Rick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. $15 million of the $80 million budget was all towards special effects provided by Industrial Light and Magic. It took 3 months for the animation supervisor to complete the musculature of Imhotep's body.
Okay.
Clive Barker, Joe Dante, and George A. Romero were each attached to direct at different times. Wes Craven was also offered the job.
Wow.
Which I think, depending on who directs this movie, I think it's very wildly different.
Sure.
Unlike the actor who plays Imhotep, it would have been the same regardless.
Right.
The scene where Rick saves Evie from the sacrificial slab was filmed with Brendan Fraser fighting against nothing. He meticulously choreographed his every movement, and all the mummies were later added to the shot with CGI, matching his moves.
Interesting.
And last one, the sword Imhotep takes from Pharaoh Seti I and uses to kill him is the same sword Rick uses at the end to kill Imhotep's priests and soldiers and kill Imhotep himself. I never noticed that before. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well then. I suppose we should get to the verdicts.
Let's get to the verdicts. I volunteer to go first.
Watch out, watch out, watch out! And his name is John C.
Somebody stop the damn man! Enough's enough!
Before we get to the verdicts, off the top rope, it's Cassidy. The person that I brought up earlier, Cassidy, is coming in to speak on this movie's behalf because of Gab's slander upon the Mummy. Cassidy, you saw the Mummy for the first time recently, so you are also a person who saw this movie as an adult, who saw this movie for the first time, not being wowed by the special effects as a child, and you do like it, correct?
I do. I honestly thought there was a little bit too much hype for it. Ian's always really loved it. And I said, I know people say this is a movie to watch before you die. Let me see if this is true. And so I watched it and I loved it.
Now,
10 out of 10.
Cassidy, is this your type of movie? Are you into action, adventure, archaeology movies?
Honestly, no. I mean, I have obviously seen National Treasure, but that's really it for me. That's where I kind of
that was a good example
end
too.
off on that. Yeah, I end off on Nicolas Cage, but I actually wasn't even a huge fan of Brendan Fraser either. So to actually watch this, my extent of Brendan Fraser that I watched was George of the Jungle,
Same.
And that was practically it. But I really did like the movie a lot because I thought it wasn't necessarily all about him. I thought it was a really great cast, and Benny was the best part of that movie.
That's what I've been saying.
I just feel have either of you ever seen a comedy before? That portion, that character was so funny that you think that's the gold standard.
Gab, I think this movie is funnier than the entirety of Trainwreck.
Agreed,
okay.
But also Benny was funny because he wasn't meant to be. Benny was this character. He was this protagonist that you knew that you weren't really supposed to like, but something about you was always kind of low key rooting for Benny. You're on the wrong side of the river.
Benny is playing it the way that an actual person I feel would play it every time. You're I'd get the fuck out of there. I'd leave those guys.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I get it. Listen, he was my favorite part too. I just think the bar was pretty low. Now, Cassidy, have you ever seen Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
So that's funny. I watched your guys' first podcast. I had never seen it. So I watched it, and I do think that's a movie to watch before you die. It's also very good. But Gab is out for me now.
No. Listen, I think you're great. Your bad taste in movies has absolutely no impact on my feelings about you.
I think we've just found out that Gab doesn't like classic films, apparently. Movies that everybody else universally loves.
I do like The Mummy better than that movie, though.
Yeah.
There's just something about The Mummy that it really does feel like I genuinely just feel happy after watching that movie. There's no real stress in it. At the end of the day, they're probably going to win. It's a very good anxiety movie. You still get a little bit of action, but it's also very comforting in the sense you essentially know what's going to happen.
You know what's really funny? The way you feel about The Mummy is the way I feel about The Cat in the Hat starring Mike Myers.
That's a classic too.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
No
Wait, what's
anxiety. It just makes me feel
Okay.
better. There's a little bit of action. It's funny. It's quick. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, Cassidy, here's my final question for you, and I'd like for you to tell the men and women of the jury, if you listen to the Raiders of the Lost Ark episode of our podcast, which it sounds like you have, and you knew that I did not appreciate that movie, would anyone who is sound of mind think that I would enjoy The Mummy
She's calling
based
my
on
mind
my
unsound.
feelings about Indiana Jones?
0%. I would not have recommended this movie to you.
Thank you very much. The defense
It
rests.
doesn't mean that it's not a fantastic film. I think it's definitely a movie people should watch before you die. But as like knowing your guys' personalities better, especially after watching like what you guys enjoy to watch, I wouldn't have recommended it.
Thank you. I
It's probably
appreciate
a good
that.
point. It's probably a good point.
And listen, the purpose of this podcast is to not show each other movies we think we're gonna like. Like, I get that, and I'm happy I watched it. Like I said, I wasn't like trying like get this off. I hated it. I was just like, this movie is not. This is not doing it for me.
Yeah,
You know.
All right.
I feel you. But
You win
I
some, you
honestly
lose
was
some.
pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised and thought it was very good.
I'm very grateful to you that you gave Dylan the win that he was looking for, because he ain't getting it from me.
God damn it. Okay.
So, Cassidy, would you like to stay on while we read our verdicts?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get to our verdicts.
I'll go first.
But before you hear those verdicts from me, Gab, and Cassidy, we've got some mail.
Let's go to the mail.
Mail time!
When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
So we're going to start with our comments as we usually do. First, we have a comment on The Legend of Billie Jean from the one, the only, Scotty Cameron.
Of course.
Yes, Rotten Tomatoes critics' consensus are usually formed after a film gets 25 or 50 reviews from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. He is such a resource for Rotten Tomatoes, I gotta tell you.
He really is. I wonder if he is the Rotten Tomato.
He has taught me so much about Rotten Tomatoes that I used to be one of those people who was like, Rotten Tomatoes is stupid, but now I understand it. And I understand that it's just an aggregator, Gab. It's not stupid.
It's very mature of you to admit.
I didn't admit that I was stupid. I just admitted that Rotten Tomatoes isn't. Don't call me mature.
Sorry, I take it back.
Okay. Anything below will have a score without a consensus. Rotten Tomatoes works in multiples of 5s. I know this because a film has to have at least 5 reviews in order to have a score from critics. That's why so many of Steven Seagal's straight-to-video bargain bin disasters don't have critic scores, because they have 2 or 3 reviews, all of which are usually bad, and thus don't meet the threshold for a score. I'm not exactly sure what the consensus threshold is, but I know it's a multiple of 5 that's between 25 and 50. One of my main takeaways from that, have you ever watched, do you watch any Steven Seagal movies?
No, I if I close my eyes, I can't even picture Steven Seagal.
You're not missing much, but there's some interesting stuff in there.
Can you just tell me again, what did he call it? Steven Seagal?
What?
What did he refer to those movies as?
Steven Seagal straight to video bargain bin disasters.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna start calling people that. Like, sometimes I'll be like, this is you're the bargain basement version of whatever. I'm gonna start saying you are the Steven Seagal straight to video bargain bucket disaster.
The way this week's going on, I feel like a straight to video bargain bin disaster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
you
like
get
it.
me.
Then we have some more Scotty Cameron on You've Got Mail.
All right.
Okay, so he time coded it at 38 minutes and 12 seconds. So I'm sure that this is when he was talking, or me quoting him. Yes, it was a Dark Knight quote. I don't remember what it was.
I do. You said it was oh god, I said I do, and I remember it, but I remember it like anecdotally. So just
now
go
you
on.
look like a jackass saying you
Yeah.
remembered it. Skipping past you're not remembering, I have Christmas Vacation on DVD. My parents bought that with A Christmas Story because they were funny Christmas movies my parents enjoyed and wanted to have. I watched Recess on ABC Kids growing up before discovering Kids WB. Hey, Recess. Good show.
Yep.
I think the plot point of Meg Ryan's local store going out of business because of an inability to compete with multi-million-dollar conglomerates will always be a relevant subject. Sadly, I think he's right. It's largely why I try to support local brick and mortar stores as much as possible. Thanks for aiding my shameless plug. I saw it in the description. Oh yeah, because I put his he appeared on that G.I. Joe podcast. I put it in the description.
Yes.
You know, I try and support brick and mortar stores, but god damn it, our evil conglomerates like Amazon is too convenient.
Oh God, I know it's so convenient.
They've already
I'm a
won.
big Amazon. I'm a big Amazon person. What's
too.
your favorite brick and mortar? I mean, like gun to your head, answer quickly. What store do you go to and purchase things from?
I would have looked like such a dick if I didn't have one. Bailey's Comics. Bailey's Comics is like 5 minutes away from me, and you know what? I love it whenever I get to go in there. The guy is so personable and nice, and he knows his shit. You know what? Fuck it. I'll put the Bailey's Comics website in the description. I don't know
knew
why.
it was going to be a comic book store.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. And if you asked me for something else, it probably would have been like there's a record store nearby here that I go to sometimes. Mostly just because they sell DVDs. I don't have a record player.
I was going to say, you don't strike me as the record person, but okay.
Nope.
Interesting. What was the name of the comic book store near where we grew up?
Are you talking about Amok Time?
Yes, I am talking about Amok Time. Thank you.
Amok Time, which my mom famously said, "Ooh, it smells like onions in here. Is someone eating Burger King?" And it was not. It was the people, which felt really mean in retrospect. Fun fact: I did find out years later they moved out of the shopping center they were in. I was like, "Oh man, Amok Time was gone." Turns out that they had moved like 20 minutes away. So I recently had started going there again, and then they moved again to another state. So I was like, "Well, fuck."
So Amok Time was kind of in that like Tri-County flea market shopping strip, right?
That exact shopping strip.
Yes, I remember. Okay. Anyway, now that you and I have taken this into a personal conversation about our childhood, let's get back to
this is only relevant to such a small geographic sample of people.
Yeah. Me,
All
you,
right.
and Zach, if he's listening.
He's not. He doesn't know how. All right. Let us get to some emails because we're done with the comments. So we got 3 emails. Let me start with our boy Vitz. Subject,
Vitz.
You've got gaslighting.
Oh, shit.
I want to
Skip
start
it.
by saying... I just love to talk movies. My mom was a film producer, so I grew up on sets helping with grip work, filming, acting, editing, all of it. And my dad would take my sister and I to the movies all the time, nearly once every other week. And Friday night Blockbuster was a regular thing.
Pause. Do we know this person? I forget how did this person just stumble across our podcast? Oh no, you know him from
I think they
from
listened
Batman.
to Jump on the Batwagon, but I have no, I do not know them. I wish I could trade
Reveal
childhoods
yourself.
with them, it seems.
No, come on, we went to Amok Time. Tri-County Shopping Center. All right, unpause.
Okay. I love listening to other people discuss film and nerd out about this kind of stuff, and you two have a fun dynamic and different insights to film. And as much as I can recommend movies that you may not have not seen, what? Is this how you meant to write this? As I can recommend movies that you may not have not seen, you also do the same.
What?
Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, right?
No.
I'm calling bullshit on you on that one, Vince. Okay, that one's not my fault. That's your fault. I fuck up a lot of these things, but that one's not me.
For once, he read it correctly. It seems.
I did. I mean, she has no idea. I could be making this up. Vince might not be a real person. He is. Don't you worry.
I hope so.
Also, this podcast gives me a reason to revisit movies that I have not seen in a long time, just like You've Got Mail. Nailed that segue. Yes, you did. A wonderful modern love story about finding love on the internet for a viewer demographic who tell their kids, don't talk to strangers on the internet. With Meg Ryan, who is always the amazing human being, and Tom Hanks in probably his most despicable role ever outside of Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis. So I guess the Tom Hanks charm did not ooze through for him.
Wow. Okay.
I hadn't seen this movie since it was on TV, and when you two were talking about how terrific Tom Hanks is, at first I was so dumbstruck on even if I remembered this movie correctly. And holy shit, I did not remember this movie. And wow, Tom Hanks is such a piece of work. Like, goddamn, what a gaslighting piece of shit he is. But I agree, Tom Hanks has just this weird charm about him that makes this a fun movie. He really does. Tom Hanks just oozes charm.
Vitz really turned the corner on that quite quickly.
What do you mean?
He was like, well, God, what a gaslighting piece of shit. But you're right. He is charming.
No, that's exactly what I said, too. I was like, God, he's just the worst, but I can't seem to get past the charm. It's like he has a shield. Like, Tom Hanks could be stabbing somebody in front of me, and I'd just be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's Tom Hanks.
I
hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
It'll be really upsetting if that's my meeting Tom Hanks story. Moving on.
Have I ever told you my meeting Tom Hanks story?
Was he stabbing somebody?
No.
Oh, thank God.
No.
Did you meet Tom Hanks?
Continue. I'll tell you later. No, actually, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I for a moment I forgot we were doing a podcast, so I'll make this brief. I went to see Tom Hanks on Broadway in a Nora Ephron play called Lucky Guy, and I was waiting at the stage door for him because I desperately wanted to meet him. Because in my mind, I was going to meet him, tell him that I was an actor, tell him how much I loved him, and he was going to be like, he was going to remember me, and someday I was going to play his daughter, and it was just going to be this full circle moment. I was making my dreams come true by meeting Tom Hanks, and this is many years ago.
Made of.
Yes. Hey now. So this had to have been 2013. I was probably still in college at the time. So we're talking, it was a long time ago. So his car pulled up to the stage door, and essentially he was going to come out, meet some people, sign some autographs, get in the car and go. And they had us all ready, and I was pushing and shoving my way to the front, and I am already crying. I'm so excited. I'm about to meet my hero. And some psychotic lady runs out, rips open the door to his car, and throws a stuffed giraffe in the back seat. And now all hell has broken loose. They have to call the bomb squad. Police have to come. They seize her.
She ruined Tom Hanks for everyone.
She's screaming from the handcuffs, Tom Hanks deserves a giraffe. And it was like, she was clearly nuts. What? I don't know what happened. It was so bad. The bomb squad came, they checked it out. It was okay. They did all the tests. And then when Tom Hanks came out, they didn't let him talk to anybody. He just beelined it for the car. He gave like a half-hearted wave, got in the car and left. So I waited for about an hour. Aww. He didn't even see me. And I had a full-blown mental breakdown in the street.
Well, you did get a story out of it at least.
Yeah, and you know what? Every time I see a giraffe, I'm like, God damn it, Tom Hanks deserves a giraffe.
You were probably happy when Toy Story went out of business. You were like, fuck giraffes.
Honestly, a Toy Story? You mean Toys R Us?
Damn it! Yep, I did. I did read that. I'm meeting an actor outside of Broadway story. We met Alfred Molina after Fiddler on the Roof.
Wow!
And he could not have been. I will forever be an Alfred Molina fan. He could not have been nicer to every single person that was there.
That's wonderful.
Just a lovely fellow. Doc Ock is a hero.
Shout out to Alfred Molina.
He needs it. He needs our support.
Yeah, he does. Let's start a GoFundMe. No, Venmo me instead.
Yeah.
Venmo me.
We're not funding Alfred. He's doing fine professionally. Let's get back to
I am not. So
we've gotten off the rails. As Vitz was saying about Alfred Molina, no, I just really don't like how much of a dirtbag his character is in You've Got Mail. I personally don't want him to get the win in this movie after how much of an asshole he is. Just the kind of person who is such a dick to people, but deep down, he is just a sensitive soul who wants love, which is in fact true to some human beings. It kind of sucks, but that's life sometimes. And I do have to agree, Dylan. I feel like grooming is a little harsh of a word, but I honestly don't know how else to explain it. When he figures that Meg is the person that he has been emailing, so now he can control their interactions and exchanges until he can win. But it's hard to stay mad at Tom Hanks and that charm. It feels so forgivable, I'm not even sure if he's serious or sarcastic by this point, because I'm like, it seems like you got past the charm, Vince.
Yeah.
And Meg Ryan is such an amazing, lovable character who has her own business, well-rounded, caring, stands up for herself, and when her business is lost, that was left by her mother, and that it felt like she lost her mom all over again, she kept on keeping on, staying positive despite everything, and becoming an author of her own. Just hell yeah, you go, girl. I think what really sells me on this movie. So, okay, no, he does seem to like. I'm going through this email and I'm going on a roller coaster of whether or not Vince did like the movie.
Yeah, this is quite the roller coaster.
I think what really sells me on this movie is how it still feels very real in a time when rom-coms were mostly built on serendipity, and that this movie is still relevant to today from dating on the internet. Large corporations pushing out the little businesses, gaslighting and grooming douchebags. The only thing that doesn't hold up is that there's no way you can be a small bookshop employee and have Brooklyn be a fallback city to live in if you lose your part-time job.
Wait a second. Brooklyn?
Yeah, Brooklyn is, I think it's Heather Burns' character says like, I guess I'll live in Brooklyn or something like that.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I would tell you to edit that out, but I know you won't. So it's fine. My bad, Bits.
Good, you're learning. Overall, it is an enjoyable movie. I think it holds up and barely recommend this as a movie to watch before you die, but I will have to give it its due. It is a romantic classic. I will say if they did a reboot, revamp, sequel, whatever of this with a more modern take, I think it would be fun if they did this with Colin Hanks, who falls in love and gives up the big corporation, the family legacy, and goes for the small independent lifestyle. I don't know. I think it could be cute and give a small victory to little guys of the independent world.
Huh. I disagree.
Why?
I just don't think we need that.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. I just disagree that Colin Hanks, disagree that he should give up, that he like what does that mean? The store's still going out of business. Like Fox Books lives on, whether Colin Hanks says fuck you to the grandpa or not.
You're saying inevitably those brick and mortar businesses that we love to support will die.
Oh, yes.
As corporations take over.
Yeah. So, I mean, he might as well keep the money.
Well, on that joyful note, what does Vitz recommend? Vitz's recommendations: Sleepless in Seattle for a more whimsical story, and Notting Hill.
Oh, interesting. I've never seen Notting Hill.
I've seen neither of those movies. Insert AOL Instant Messenger log out sound, Vitz.
Cute.
Vitz, I got to know more about your mom who works in film. I'm like, do we know something? Would you recommend any of her movies?
Also, who are you?
Who am I? And then, because we've had a famine of emails from this person, we've got 2 emails from Keen Machine.
Oh, thank God, I was getting worried.
Greetings, Dylan and Gab. Sorry I've been quiet the last couple episodes. I promise I didn't just get on your podcast and now I'm ghosting you. I have a little bit of class. I have not seen The Legend of Billie Jean, but based on your discussion, now I want to watch it. It sounds like a wild 80s ride. As always, keep it keen.
Cute.
To the second Keen Machine email, You Got Mail, literally. Greetings, Dylan and Gab. Fun review of You Got Mail. I've actually seen this one. Never thought about it being a movie showcasing early catfishing, but you're not wrong. Hard to believe how expensive those early computers were. I can't think of anything else meaningful to say at the moment, so I guess this is it. Keep it keen, Keen Machine.
I actually have a message for Keen. At this point, he has already seen, I'm sure, what happened, but I almost sent him for his Gone Fishing podcast, Fishing PH, a few screenshots of the messages that this Instagram account that was pretending to be me was sending people that follow me. And it was very interesting. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Keen, if you're listening and you're interested, I'd love to supply you with the fishing messages.
They never run out of good fishing stuff. So
it's so good. Shout out to the Gone Fishing podcast, guys. You have to listen to it. It's great.
Yes, good stuff on there. And many good greetings and salutations from weirdos on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't give good ones. Like Keen hits us with those good old greetings every time. It's like, hello, friend. You get those random emails like, hello, person of interest. If I could just speak to you for a moment and you can give me $500, I can give you $500 million.
Yes.
And you know what?
Too good.
I have lost too much money on those.
Have you really?
No, not
yet.
yet.
Oh, good. Okay. But
Except
didn't grandma fall for one?
My grandma falls for those constantly. She's probably falling for it right now. Somebody one time said that they were my brother and that they were in jail in some random state, Tennessee, Kentucky. I don't remember where, but they said they needed $2,000 to get bail to get out of jail. And my grandma tried to haggle. She was like, I could give you 500. And it was like, well, the bail is $2,000. And she was like, guess you're spending the night. Like that was it.
Yes.
And then she called my sister-in-law to ask her, like, what happened to Zach? And she was like, nothing. But I think Zach was hurt a little bit that she wasn't willing to supply the actual money.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? Is anybody shocked?
I'm not shocked. She wouldn't have bailed anybody out, I don't think. She
No.
wouldn't even bail herself out for that much money.
That's what I mean. It's, listen, she was true to herself. And you know what? We love women that are true to themselves. Like Meg Ryan being true to herself about really knowing that store didn't have much more time anyway.
Good transition there. And now let's transition out of mail and back into the mummy. And let's get back to you, me, and Cassidy talking about our verdicts. How about that?
Here we go. Okay, fine.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished. Sentence is death.
My verdict is no.
No. Wait, really? Wait, really? You seriously don't think that it's really?
Seriously, I think that if you are dying, for those of our audience members who are at the end of their lives, don't waste your time.
Oh my god.
Okay, Gab, I do have
depressing.
a question though.
Sure, please.
If you had to pick between Indiana Jones or someone to watch The Mummy, which would you pick for someone to watch? Like if you had to pick between the two.
I'd probably, and I'm dead serious about this, I'd probably say Indiana Jones because at least it is like the original, at least it is, and obviously not the original, right? But like in terms of,
there are so many movies that are this.
But because it is a classic, because it is, you know, Harrison Ford in his heyday, like I would say that movie is probably more like culturally impactful than The Mummy. Although I think The Mummy is, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. You know, that's what I want everybody to take away from this. It was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I don't really recall a lot of what happened. It didn't change my life in any way. I'm not going to quote it. I'm not even thinking about it.
You think of the movie as people think of, like, you know, when your friend's dating someone who's not attractive and you're like, they're nice. That's you.
Oh my god.
Yep. I mean, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, I watched
Cassidy
the whole
says
thing
I'm
from
nice
start
all
to finish.
the time. No.
Cassidy's like, yeah, Giselle, he's nice.
Have you seen The Mummy?
Yeah, he's really nice.
Obviously, I think it's a we'd watch before you die, and Cassidy basically just came in here for my ego boost to agree with me, right?
I mean, I think that's a fantastic film. I would say to rather watch The Mummy over Indiana Jones, the entire series, but that's just me, even though Harrison Ford is obviously a hottie in it. It's just The Mummy takes the cake from me. And you do too, Dill. You're more than just nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got a real looker over here.
Okay, let's pump our brakes. You know what? If you enjoyed this episode, you can send us mail at movieswatchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com or anchor.fm/movies to watch. Gab, what other things do we say at the end of this?
Make sure you Venmo me so I like you. And and Cassidy, thank you so much for coming on. You should come on again.
Anytime. I'm an avid listener, so thanks for letting me be on, and you guys are great.
We're up to like 4 or 5 listeners now. That's pretty good.
I know. Cassidy, I'll give you my Venmo offline, okay?
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please let us know how you feel about The Mummy and any other movies that we've discussed. Also, please let us know any movies that you'd like for us to talk about. And keep watching.
Bye-bye.
Well, if it ain't my little buddy Benny, I think I'll kill you.
Think of my children.
You don't have any children.
Someday I might.
Shut up.